I feel really honored to stand in front of you all, because it was actually this time last year where we kind of announced Chorus and what we were about to do, and they're giving me 15 minutes to give you a quick update. So this will not be a full, in-depth presentation. If you want more of that, see me at the Frankfurt hotspot. But I'm just going to give you an update of what we've done since last year. So I know this is a little bit washed out, and the people in the back probably can't read it, but the point here on this slide is that open access mandates are not just the United States, they are all around the world. Much thanks to Oxford University Press, who keeps track of all of these things. And you can see that there's HEFKey stuff, there's RCUK, which many of you know about. There's things that are going on at CAS. I just heard about one going on in Portugal. So this particular slide is constantly being updated by OUP. But the one in particular that Chorus was responding to in particular was the announcement coming from the OSTP, or the Executive Office of the President of the United States, and it was issued in February of last year. And you all heard about agency plans being developed and so forth, and God knows we all thought that we would have all of those plans by this point. But as I've come to realize over the last year or so, that agencies move slowly. And the good news is that all of the agencies actually have submitted a plan to OSTP. I know this for a fact. I also know that OSTP has responded to all those agencies, but there's only one agency that has released its plan, which is the DOE, and they released it on the 24th of July. And the background here, it hasn't changed since last year, so it's all about federal agencies funding more than $100 million annually. It was all about a suggestion that there should be free public access to peer-reviewed research articles with a guideline of 12 months. There should be some kind of long-term stewardship, and it needs to be about both articles and data. So Chorus responded to that in a variety of ways, and it was really done by publishers, in particular, as we heard before, that were involved with that scholarly roundtable that Fred was mentioning. And we formed Core Inc., and we did it around this time last year. And we still have our 501c3 tax-exempt status pending, because the IRS gods do take their time with things. We do have over 100 signatories, thanks to all of you in the room. We are exploring some international partnerships, but our focus is really still the United States. That's built into our name. We did launch our pilot last year, many of you remember that, but much more importantly than that, 1 year later, we're now into production, okay? So we announced that we're into production as of July 2014, and perhaps more important than that, all of that, is that the US Department of Energy, when they released their plan, they followed up with a press release on August 4th this year, and said that Chorus is part of their plan. So that's an important initiative for all of that. But the other thing to note is that, just like I mentioned last year, is we do have the great and the good on our board of directors. And it's all really important to note that built into our bylaws, that it has to be a majority of not-for-profits. Okay, so while you see here AIP Publishing and IEEE, right alongside there is Elsevier and Wiley, and these folks have been working tirelessly to make Chorus successful. It is the only board that I've ever been on that actually meets more than once a month. They actually meet twice a month, and actually at the beginning they were meeting weekly. God bless them. So much credit to all of them, because I could not have done it without all of them. And I could have also not done it without all the supporting organizations here. And you can see that while there's a very vast number of Americans on that left-hand side, because this is in alphabetical order, you can see that we also have groups like the Royal Society of Chemistry, Nature Publishing Group, as well as many others, Oxford itself, that are all very international. So Chorus, even though it carries the US name, is very international, because publishing, honestly, is very international. So here's an update of where we stand. So much of this you saw last year. But where we are now is that since going into production, we have to do the business side too. So we've now moving all of those sponsors and trying to attain them to become members. And so we have publisher members and we have affiliate members. And what is an affiliate member? It's someone that's not a publisher per se, but someone that is serving the publishing community. And so this is a growing number, and we all encourage you all to join in and help us. And at the same time, we are conducting publisher onboarding. So it's great to have members, but the members need to get their metadata into the system. I cannot encourage that enough. So for all of you who have not thought about submitting metadata into Crossref vis-a-vis FundRef information, please do. It is the only way that we can identify the content that has the funding, it is the only way that we can identify the content of the research that has been funded by those very same agencies. Without that, we can't have a conversation. We have to have this conversation. It is critical that you all get this FundRef information. It's actually not that difficult, and it's actually something that's already built into many of the manuscript tracking systems. I'm not saying that it doesn't take some work, it does, but it's so absolutely critical for us to have an intelligent conversation. So, speaking of the DOE, as I mentioned, they've come out. But what about the rest of the agencies? Well, unfortunately, I can't stand before you and tell you exactly what agencies I've been speaking to. That would be improper. But I will tell you the number. So it's been a lot of meetings with almost a dozen of these agencies. Some of them, I believe, will come out with their plans in the next few months. So there will be more announcements. Hopefully, many of them will be extremely positive about Chorus and the work that we're doing. And they're not all in the same area. They're a very cross-section of different groups. But honestly, they want to be engaged, but they're only going to be really engaged if they can identify the content. So again, I plead to you is that do submit your metadata into Crossref. Again, it's the FundRef data that I'm talking about. So, well, why Chorus? The thing that we really come to understand is that Chorus is about creating a sustainable and very scalable way to deal with public access. Okay, we're trying to address very much the needs of the researchers, the funders, the publishers, and academic institutions. Okay, all of them need to be involved with what we're trying to do. It is free to academic institutions to be involved. It is free for the agencies to be involved unless they start getting crazy with some customizations. But the intention is this is going to be pretty much a publisher member-driven organization, which we believe that we can run for very low overheads and also do, quite honestly, a lot of good. Here are those stakeholders that you saw last year and for me to talk about. So we have Alan, who's our agency representative, Rachel, our researcher, Lottie, the librarian, Penny, the publisher, and Peter, the public. And it's those 5 things. It's identification, that's the FundRef piece, folks. It's discovery, so once you've done the identification, allow for different discovery mechanisms. It's preservation, again, working with the porticos and the clocks of the world. And then it's also about access, and it's also about compliance. Each one of these stakeholders has something, a different aspect of it, and they all want slightly different things, but honestly, Chorus can pull all that together for them. And these are things that we already have. We're not about rebuilding, so we're using everything that Crossref has to offer. We're using ORCID, we're using Portico, we're using clocks. The things that you've heard for the last dozen years or so, we are building upon. And key thing is access via the publisher's site. Okay? So it is up to the publisher to decide what kind of embargo they want to have. Okay? Whether or not it's a gold route or a green route, that's up to the publisher. Chorus is actually agnostic about it, so it's good for all of you. Okay? It's again up to the publisher to decide what the user will actually get once they visit the site. Is it the accepted author manuscript, or is it the version of record, the things that's been curated more precisely by the publisher? Again, that's a publisher decision. Chorus has been built to be extremely flexible, and the agencies like that idea. And then we have all of our other services. So again, there's the Crossref service, which is what I've been talking about, which is where FundRef has now, I believe it's over, what's the total, Ed? Is it now 80,000? Is that about right? 80,000 terms? Yeah, 80,000 terms. 8,000. Okay, 8,000 terms worldwide that are now feeding behind all of this so the users can then select from them. We have our discovery engine, which sits on top of the Crossref APIs. But not even that, it's also the agencies are developing portals. So if you look today at the DOE system, they've actually developed their pages system, which also pulls information directly out of the Crossref system as well. And then we have our dashboards. And our dashboards, again, are looking at the APIs, looking to see exactly what should be publicly accessible, and then we're actually auditing to see if that's actually true. And then the last but not least is the preservation aspect. People also ask me, well, what are you doing with share, that share thing that loomed large last year? Well, it's still there, and I'm happy that it's still there. And Chorus and share are working together in a variety of ways to see where it makes sense. So share actually came from the library and university place, and we all agree that identifiers are really key and standards are really key. Share has their latest work really being done on what they call a research object notification system. We believe that's a good thing, and so Chorus is working with them too. I sit on one of the working groups, so it's very much of a collegial atmosphere. So I was glad to hear that there should be more conversation, and I agree. There should be more conversation, and folks from Chorus need to get together, as well as folks from STM, as well as Share. And then last but not least, data. Now I've got the least to say on data, honestly, because the data is the least formed of all of these things. And so there's lots of work being going on. DataCite, obviously, the RDA, which STM is involved with, Crossref itself, all of these are very much involved with data. But it's very unclear exactly where data is going to go. And so one of the things that Chorus is doing is trying to cherry pick which initiatives to join in on, which ones just to observe and to listen and to lurk, if you will. But we do believe that this is an important area, so as well as speaking to agencies, I do go around and speak to a lot of these different initiatives to understand what their needs are and to see where Chorus should or could play. So ultimately, what do publishers need to do, because most people in the room here are publishers, is it's now time to step up and become a member. Thank you very much for being one of those 100, but it's time for you now to become a member of Chorus and also start doing the deposit and getting involved. If you're not already a member of Crossref, and I would scratch my head to believe that any of you are not a member of Crossref, you need to be. Because honestly, that's one of the most important things regarding getting these things identified. And so again, there's my plea again for getting your FundRef data in there. And then in addition, this is the new part of it, is we want you to submit your agency-related data to Crossref's FundRef system, and that could become from you, the publisher, or your hosting provider, but it does need actually to get out of your manuscript tracking systems and over to Crossref. And then another new thing is that we actually want you to become much more transparent about what kind of reuse license that you actually have. And Crossref very nicely now has metadata that they have within their system, and we'd like you to submit that too. Okay? These are not big things, these are small things that you can do, but it helps keep the conversation going, and it helps make different and interesting analyses happen, and also actually greases the wheel to make access to all of your content on your site happen. And if you're not already submitting to a Clocks or a Portico, please do it. It's the right thing to do. It is what the agencies are expecting you to do as far as long-term preservation of your content. So this wraps us up. So you can see that we're using proven technologies, we're dealing with open APIs, we are optimizing our search to help find this content, we are working with the best archiving systems that are out there today, we are all about free public access, and notice I'm not using the word open access, this is about public access. We are very much behind distributed access, meaning the content on your site. We want more and more metrics, and we want more conversation to happen, and we want people to be able to use the data that's out there, but we also want to do this in a very cost-effective way. This is our latest website that we've just revamped, and there's lots of information on there, and that's at chorusaccess.org. And I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to give you a very rapid little update, but hopefully you've learned some things, and I, again, appreciate all the endorsement that you guys have always been giving me, so thank you.